My name is David Clarke. I was born in Oldham, Lancashire in 1949. I was later educated and trained as a lecturer at Wolverhampton Polytechnic and graduated in 1978 with a certificate in education awarded by Birmingham University. However, my early life was somewhat different. My brother Michael and I were both convicted criminals. We were sent to prison for malicious wounding and possessing a firearm without a licence. We grew up in Aylesbury, Buckinghamshire during the 60s. We were mods at the time, but eventually turned to crime. On the 16th of January 1970, I had a bad trip on LSD, during which time I cried out to God for help, and Jesus spoke to me. From that point, I turned my life around and my back on crime. I learned to read in order to educate myself and eventually progressed to higher education. Over the next 14 years I read the Bible and a wide range of Christian literature. In 1976 I joined the Bierton Strict and Particular Baptist Church. I later became a lecturer in electronics and was appointed a church secretary in 1982. I was called by the Lord and sent out by the church to preach the gospel. At that time, I realised the need to educate those, even those in the Christian world, as to the truths of the gospel of Christ. Then, in 1995, while delivering a lecture at Fairham College, I received news of my brother Michael's arrest in the Philippines. It had made the ITN television news. I later discovered that he'd been imprisoned in the Philippines. Then, in 1999, I received word that he too had been converted and become a Christian, 5 years into his 16-year prison sentence. It was then I published our story in my book, Converted on LSD Trip. On hearing Michael's conversion, I embarked on a mission of help to the Philippines to bring relief and help to him. It was then we received an invitation to preach in the Philippines by a Presbyterian missionary, Joseph Kim. Gordon Smith joined me in this mission, and together we preached to hundreds of convicted criminals in New Bilibid Prison, the national penitentiary of the Philippines, including many on death row. We also preached in Benguet Provincial Jail and Baguio City Jails, and here they're roasting a dog to eat. It was on that mission we invited 100 inmates who too had been converted from crime to Christ through the help and work of other inmates who had become Christians in the prison. And the following year we returned to New Bilibid Prison, having processed and published 66 testimonies in our book Trojan Warriors, giving a copy to each inmate that had given their testimony. The advantage being that each inmate, upon leaving jail, could show to their families and friends that they were not the only ones there to become Christians. I tell this part of our story in our joint publication, Trojan Warriors Setting Captives Free and Trojan Warriors The Testimonies, which contains the 66 life-giving testimonies of some of Asia's most notorious criminals, men who, like Michael, were converted from crime to Christ whilst in New Bilibid Prison. On our second mission to the Philippines in 2002, we commissioned William Ola Pollock, the first of our Trojan Warriors, upon his release to return to his own city in Baguio to preach and teach the gospel to his own family and friends in Baguio City and Benguet Provincial Jails, which he did, and since that day he's established over 10 churches in the northern Philippines. Sadly, Michael, my brother, died of tuberculosis in the prison before our vision of providing broader help could be realised. But we continued working to assist in the rehabilitation of any who recognised their need. I've written accounts of our work with a view to help those seeking to learn the gospel of Christ and to establish the truth, to discern truth from error in this age of confusion. Please take a look at our publications list, written to help those who are interested, all available as paperback or PDF downloads upon request. For as it is written, for he was astonished, and all they that were with him, at the draught of fishes that they had taken. Luke chapter 5 verse 10.